Hello, everybody. It's Adrian Plass here once again.
Again, and me again, Bridget. Yeah.
We didn't have a very good night last night, did we?
No, we didn't. But I think, to be absolutely honest, that what's happening to us is happening all over the country, actually all over the world. That this horrific situation kind of gets deep inside you, even when you're not analysing it, even when you're in the night. And
Yeah,
I think loads of people aren't sleeping well.
It's too complicated to handle, isn't it?
It is.
I really do feel, and we keep talking about it, I do feel for people on their own. It's bad enough if you have got someone, as we're lucky enough to have.
Or people with too many people
People
in a
with
very
too
small
many people,
space.
yeah. But on your own, I mean, that's
Yeah.
rotten. It's
Young mums
very
with
hard.
babies.
Mums with babies, yeah, very, very, very tough.
Yeah.
Very tough. And there are some things that sustain you. And, people say, what is God's greatest gift to humanity?
We've decided we know that.
We know the answer to that. It's tea.
Yes.
And there was a time that we were remembering when we did a weekend at Scargill House, where we work sometimes, down in Yorkshire. And it was a very, very busy weekend. Rewarding, but really busy. And we were absolutely worn out. We went back home and we were going to have a cup of tea, and that was going to solve everything. And there was no tea. And we went next door. She had no tea. The shop was shut. There was no tea. We sat and gazed at the walls and just suffered and suffered and suffered without our tea. But I think we underestimate God's goodwill sometimes.
Yeah.
I think little things like that. I mean, tea in the middle of the night.
Ah, well, we have these conversations, don't we, where either you or I say, "Are you asleep?" And the other one says, "No, are you asleep?"
A ridiculous conversation.
And then we say, "Shall we have a cup of tea?"
Shall we have a cup of tea?
And you put the light on and you read for a bit and you have a cup of tea, and it kind of resets your button and, I don't know, perhaps helps. But we are in really hard times. And it's interesting. I mean, today is Easter Saturday. It was the day when there was probably more bewilderment than any other day for the disciples and for the people that knew Jesus. Not just bewilderment, but despair. Here's somebody who felt like that.
I do not understand. Lord Jesus, if my words rise before you on this dark and pain-filled Saturday evening, please hear my heart crying out to you that I do not understand. I don't believe a single one of us understands. We, your disciples, we wait behind these locked doors like dead things, like dumb pieces of lumber that have been leaned carelessly against the wall or discarded upon the floor because they no longer have a function. Our minds, they burn with 1,000 questions. And they are all the same question. Why has the flower failed to bloom? Why has the wine turned to water? Why have our wounds opened? Why has hope turned to despair? Where is light and leadership? Where are you? Master, where are you? You are not here with us. I remember some words you once spoke. Unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. Good picture. A truth to be stored and considered. Kernels of wheat do indeed produce many seeds, but, Lord, you were not a kernel of wheat, you were a man. Now you are dead. And one dead man does not produce a harvest of living men. Does he? You are entombed, and we, your living servants, are also entombed in grief. We long to see your face. We just want to hear your voice. Lacking your wisdom and power, your decisions, your strange responses to everything that happens, how can we continue? The future is a desert. As night draws on, we shall try to sleep, but the mockery of morning will surely come. Lord Jesus, my eyes fill with tears. How am I to face tomorrow? without you.
And of course, the disciples didn't have to face tomorrow without him. For them, this horrific confusion and bewilderment and pain and a feeling that all the dreams, all the positives had gone only lasted a day. And for us, for some of us, a lot of dreams, a lot of bewilderment around. It isn't just the people who've lost people or people who are ill. It's all the people who had little businesses and they're wondering if they'll survive, and people who can see their money running out, and whatever the government says, they know it might not all work out. So much fear around. This is a little story, but it isn't a story that's ours. If anybody lives in Northumberland, they may well know Barter Books in Alnwick, one of our favourite places in the world. This is a story that we've found says so much more than just what it was, really. You see, Barter Books is a bookshop, a wonderful bookshop, a second-hand bookshop, second to none. It used to be a railway station. And when they bought the railway station, because there was no railway line, so it was quite a good idea to reuse this building, they found there was one room that was locked and they didn't have a key to it. It didn't worry them too much. They had loads of development to do in the building. But eventually somebody came up with this key. A locked room and a key to a door to unlock the room. They opened the room and in it found something quite extraordinary. It was a plant. It was a huge plant, a plant that was healthy and strong and very, very tall. It was a plant that had survived being locked away for a very long time because there was a skylight with a little bit of sun shining through it and a crack where water had seeped through and just kept that plant alive. And for Adrian and I, it became a parable. It became a parable that sometimes we think our dreams have died. It may be that we've locked them away. It may be that we've come to a point of thinking, there's no point hoping anymore. I'm going to shut that door and I'm never, ever going to open it again. But behind that door, God may be keeping your dream alive, watering it with love, keeping hope alive. And that's what we have to hang on to at the moment, because it's there. It's what he promised.
It is interesting. I love that story. I wish I could have been there to unlock that door. Isn't that exciting? There are surprising things that happen that change the way you're feeling, things you're dreading perhaps. And I was thinking from yesterday, I was talking about how the cross was a sort of mission field. And the first thing Jesus did was to arrange forgiveness for the people who were actually nailing him to the cross, which was very thoughtful of him in the circumstances. And a long time ago, I wrote this thing because I thought maybe these guys who actually did the job, they nailed Jesus to the cross and probably didn't think about it a great deal. There might have come a time in the future where they thought, we're gonna suffer for this. We're not going to go anywhere where he is, obviously. But maybe this is what happened. Some insisted that the journey was a waste of hope and time. Better to embrace the darkness set apart for such a crime. Still they travelled onward, upward, stumbled, staggered, rose and fell, just to own one glimpse of heaven in the sightless pits of hell. At the gates the angels waited, menace burned in every eye, and then the ranks abruptly parted as there rose a joyful cry, let them pass, these weary travellers, every one my blood defends, bring the best that heaven offers, these who killed me, these are my friends. It's amazing, isn't it? And especially for those of us who've done things we think are absolutely despicable or got into situations where we really screwed up. to really believe in the principle of forgiveness, to find that actually it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was also remembering a time when I was surprised by... Do you remember when I went to the young offenders prison years ago?
You were dreading it, and it turned out to be even worse than you thought it was going to be.
It was, I'll tell you, one of the most alarming experiences of my life, because I just started speaking and travelling around, and I don't know if this was the first time I went into a prison.
Oh, I think it was, yeah.
But it was a Sunday, and it was a chapel time, and they were young men, youngish men, quite young men really, and most of them clearly had come to chapel because going to chapel wasn't staying in your cell.
And worse than that, sometimes they used to use situations like that to pass drugs or whatever else it was.
Anything could happen, and it was chaos. I was sitting in the back, and I got my talk prepared. And every now and then, at least 3 times, they had to take one of these young blokes out because they were making a noise or messing about. And they also were doing that awful limb-stretching, yawning thing where you use your whole body to yawn, leaning back on a chair and making an enormously loud noise and talking. And I thought, this is the pits. I just want to get out of here and go home. And our daughter had just been born at that time, Kate. She was a baby. And I thought about her. I thought about her most of the time at that time. And it filled my heart. I just wanted to see her. And the time came for me to go up to the front, and they were still kicking off most of these lads. And I got to the front, and I stood for a moment with my back to them, not knowing what to do. I was lost. And I turned round and I said, I so miss my daughter. And it was like a miracle, a silence fell. And they all looked at me in a completely different way. And within about a nanosecond, of course, I realized they're all missing people. Yeah. They were all missing people. And because it was real, what I'd said, it was real for them.
Yeah.
And it taught me a lesson, certainly about speaking to groups of people and perhaps to individuals as well, which was to start where I am and not where I ought to be. I know there's a lot to be said for being where you ought to be, but being where you are is very helpful. And it just shows, again, anything can happen.
Yeah.
Great things can happen.
But you're right. Sometimes you think, what I need is the key to unlock that door. I need the right key.
Yes,
and I
do,
haven't got it.
Yeah.
And if I was better at this or better at that, then I would have the key to unlock a situation. And starting from where you are and asking God to use that, even today, on a day where hope feels rather a long way away and we don't know when our lockdown is going to end, and you know, these green shoots they're talking about don't seem to be very strong. It's a day to live in the day and to hang on to hope. And we thought we'd finish actually today with a prayer. This is a prayer Adrian and I say every morning. It's not our prayer. In fact, it's a very old one. It's used in the Celtic daily prayer. And apparently it was on St. Patrick's shield, so some of you will know it. Christ as a light, illumine and guide me. Christ as a shield, o'ershadow me. Christ under me, Christ over me. Christ beside me, on my left and my right. This day be within and without me. Lowly and meek, yet all-powerful. Be in the heart of each to whom I speak, in the mouth of each who speaks unto me. This day be within and without me, lowly and meek, yet all-powerful. Christ as a light, Christ as a shield, Christ beside me, on my left and my right.
And our very best wishes to all who have a faith or no faith or lost faith, wherever you are today. We hope you have a wonderful time. I don't know how that will happen, But surprises do happen.
Yeah.
So let's
and
hope.
Hope will always be there. So goodbye from us today.
Bye bye.